During dinner, my sister said she was pregnant and that the father is my husband, but then I revealed a secret. My name is Marina, I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of how I discovered that some people are capable of anything to get what they want. It was a Thursday in March when I received news of my promotion. After 4 years working as a project manager at a tech company in Austin, I would finally be commercial director. I couldn't stop smiling. I called David, my husband, and Beatrice, my younger sister, to share the joy. Let's celebrate at Terzo tonight, I suggested. Terzo was that chic Italian restaurant where a meal cost more than most people's weekly groceries, but I could afford it. I'd worked hard for this. When I saw them arriving together, I found it strange. Beatrice was radiant with a smile I hadn't seen in a long time. David seemed nervous. Congratulations on the promotion, Murray. Beatrice hugged me with suspicious enthusiasm. She was never very demonstrative with affection, especially with me. We ordered a $200 bottle of Chianti, and I started telling them about the new projects I would lead. The 40% salary increase. The possibilities for international growth. Actually, Beatrice interrupted in the middle of my excitement. We also have news to share. She took David's hand across the table and my stomach dropped. I'm pregnant. The world stopped. The restaurant voices became a distant buzz. I stared at my sister's hand intertwined with my husband's as if it were a mirage. Beatrice was pregnant with David's child. I know it's a complicated situation. David spoke for the first time. His voice strained. But it happened, and we fell in love. They watched me with a mixture of expectation and poorly disguised satisfaction. It was as if they were waiting for me to explode, scream, make a scene. How long? I managed to ask, my voice coming out strangely calm. 3 months, Beatrice replied, running her hand over her still imperceptible belly. It started right after your birthday. My birthday had been in December. It was May. 3 months of betrayal. 3 months of lies. 3 months of them laughing at me while I worked 12-hour days to get this promotion. Marina, say something, David asked. What do you want me to say? Congratulations? Beatrice laughed nervously. Look, Murray, I know it's not easy, but these things happen. Love is love, right? And the baby needs both parents together. I picked up my purse slowly, left two $50 bills on the table and stood up. I'm going home. You do whatever you want. As I walked toward the exit, I heard David calling my name, but I didn't turn around. In the wall mirror, I could see their reflections still sitting at the table. Beatrice was smiling. Throughout childhood, Beatrice lived in my shadow, and this irritated her deeply. I was the older daughter, the responsible one, the one who got good grades without trying hard. She was the youngest, the spoiled one. When I got a full scholarship to study business administration at the University of Texas, Beatrice said it was rich girl's luck. When I graduated with honors and got an internship at a multinational, she commented that I always knew how to sell myself. The worst part is that she really believed she deserved the same things I had, but without the effort. Beatrice always asked about my salary, my investments, the apartment's value. Just sisterly curiosity, she'd say. But there was an intensity in the way she asked that bothered me. Now I understood it wasn't curiosity. It was pure envy mixed with greed. When I met David at a work party 5 years ago, Beatrice made sure to say he wasn't my type. He was handsome, nice, worked as a salesman at a BMW dealership. He earned reasonably well, about $5,000 a month with commissions, but nothing compared to my $8,000 salary that soon became $12,000. David and I kept separate finances. We had a joint account for household expenses, into which I deposited a consistent monthly amount that covered mortgage, utilities, groceries, and my own account, which he knew existed but never knew the balance of, because he'd never asked. He assumed the joint account deposit was most of what I made. The trust on the house was my father's doing. He was a real estate attorney for 30 years. When I bought the house the year before I married David, he set up a revocable living trust in my name as sole grantor and transferred the title into it before the wedding. David called it paranoid when he found out 2 years into the marriage, but I kept the trust structure exactly as it was. I got home and the apartment was exactly as I had left it that morning. David's toothbrush was still in the bathroom, his clothes in the closet. David didn't come home that night. At 2 a.m., I received a message. I'm at B's house. We'll talk tomorrow. He called my sister B, as if they'd been intimate for years. I spent the night awake, trying to understand how I hadn't noticed the signs. Now that I thought about it, Beatrice had appeared a lot in Austin in recent months. I came to see some clients, she'd say. When the sun rose, my iPhone showed 17 missed calls from my mother. Beatrice had told her everything. I called Helena, my best friend since college and a family law attorney in Houston. I told her everything. Marina, I'm so sorry, she said, about the divorce. I need you to bring all the marriage documents, bank statements, deeds, proof of income, everything. That's when I remembered I needed to organize all the important documents. I went to the office where I kept everything in colored folders. I took the folder where I kept the marriage documents. When I saw the marriage certificate, something caught my attention. Separate property regime. Complete separation of assets. Why complete separation? That's when I remembered. Prenuptial agreement. I ran to the small safe in my bedroom closet. Inside, between the apartment deed and my passport, there it was. Prenuptial agreement. Marina Santos Silva and David Oliveira Ferrer. My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. I vaguely remembered insisting on this 4 years ago, but the details were hazy. I took a deep breath and began reading every word. The memory came back. It was 2 weeks before our wedding. I had just bought my first apartment for $350,000. My lawyer had suggested a prenup. David, it's not about love. It's legal protection for both of us. If it's important to you, fine, he'd said. But honestly, I think you're complicating something that should be simple. We went to the lawyer's office on a Thursday morning. David was hungover, somewhat sleepy. The lawyer explained the terms with patience. Complete separation of assets. Each spouse maintains their individual patrimony. No division in case of divorce. David barely read anything. He signed all 15 pages with the ease of signing a grocery list. list. He really didn't understand what he had signed. Now 4 years later, alone in the bedroom at 3 a.m. with the contract in my hands, I finally understood the value of that rich people nonsense. I read each page with attention. The legal words that at the time seemed just formality now shone on the page like precious diamonds. Complete separation of property. Each spouse shall maintain individual ownership of all property owned prior to marriage and all property acquired during the marriage. The apartment I bought before getting married. The investments I made monthly. All of this was exclusively mine. In the event of dissolution of marriage, there shall be no division of property. David had no right to anything. Spousal support waiver. Both parties hereby waive any right to spousal support, alimony, or maintenance. David had no right even to alimony. For the first time in 3 days, I smiled. A small smile, but genuine. David had signed his own financial sentence 4 years ago without even realizing it. And Beatrice, she had probably seduced my husband thinking he would be her gateway to a financially comfortable life. What delicious irony. I took my laptop and started making a mental list. Apartment valued at $400,000. Investments totaling $100,000. Stake in a startup worth $50,000. Checking and savings with $40,000. Paid off car valued at $20,000. More than $600,000 in net worth at 29. And David had no right to any of it. I called Helena early Monday morning. Marina, this contract is a work of legal art. David has no right to absolutely anything. We can process the divorce in 60 days if he doesn't contest. Helena, I want to do something. I'm going to call them and propose a civilized conversation about the divorce. I want to see their faces when they discover the truth. 3 weeks passed, then I called Beatrice. Hi, B. Look, I thought a lot about this whole situation, and I think you guys are right. There's no point holding grudges. These things happen. Silence on the other end. She wasn't expecting this reaction. Really? You're okay with this? I'm trying to accept it. Can we meet to talk civilly about how to resolve everything? Maybe dinner again at Terzo. Saturday night. Perfect, Mari. You can't imagine how important this is for us. I spent the following days preparing like an actress rehearsing for the performance of her life. I arrived at Terzo on Saturday punctually at 8 p.m. I asked for the same table as last time. David and Beatrice arrived together, relaxed, smiling, holding hands. Beatrice wore a dress that highlighted her small but noticeable belly. So about the divorce? David said after we ordered. We wanted to propose doing everything amicably. Divide things fairly. Divide things fairly. I repeated. Tell me more about this. What do you consider fair? They exchanged a quick glance. They had rehearsed this. Well, we can sell the apartment and split it 50th, the investments too. And now with your new promotion, alimony will help a lot until I can stabilize. Alimony. He really believed I would pay alimony to him while he raised a child with my sister. I slowly picked up my purse and placed the courthouse envelope with the prenuptial agreement on the table. Before we talk about division, I need to clarify something important that you seem to have forgotten. David frowned. What is that? Our prenuptial agreement. David, remember the one you signed 4 years ago saying it was rich people nonsense? The color instantly drained from his face. Beatrice looked confused. What agreement? You made a prenuptial agreement? I took the pages out and placed them on the table, open so both could see. Complete separation of assets. Do you remember what that means? David picked up the pages with trembling hands. Calm down, Mari, Beatrice said, her voice losing confidence. Even with an agreement, there's partial community property, not when there's complete separation of assets. Beatrice, I pointed to the specific clause. Everything acquired during marriage also stays with whoever acquired it. But this can't be legal, David protested, his voice rising. The apartment, the investments. I live there. You contributed $300 a month for groceries and gas, David. I paid the $1,800 for financing, the $200 for condo fees, internet, electricity, phone, insurance. Your $300 doesn't give you property rights over a $400,000 apartment. Beatrice frantically flipped through the pages. But alimony, he has a right to alimony. I smiled. Page 5, Section 3, Spousal Support Waiver. David waived his right to alimony when he signed this. I didn't know what I was signing, David shouted, drawing attention from neighboring tables. You tricked me. David, you were there when the lawyer explained each clause. You said you understood. Everything is registered at the courthouse. The expression on Beatrice's face was changing from confusion to horror. You mean he has no right to anything? Nothing. Zero. David leaves the marriage exactly as he entered with his financed pickup, his clothes, and his credit card debts. Marina, for God's sake, we can talk about this. I'm going to have a child to support. You are going to have a child to support, I emphasized. In Texas, child support is usually 20% of net income. If David earns $5,000 gross, about $3,800 net remains. 20% of that is $760 per month until the child turns 18. They looked at each other in panic. They clearly hadn't done these calculations. Plus medical expenses, daycare, clothes, education. It's going to be quite expensive to have a baby, guys. Beatrice was clearly doing mental math. If David earned $5,000 a month and was going to pay $800 in support, about $3,400 would remain to support him, her, and a baby. Beatrice, how much do you earn as a freelancer again? Well, it varies. About $2,000 a month when there are projects. So you'll live on $5,400 monthly at best for 3 people. Living where? At my house in San Antonio, she murmured. That 1-bedroom apartment you rent for $800. It's going to be cramped with a baby, don't you think? Marina, David tried once more. Are you really going to do this? Leave us with nothing? David, you didn't hurt me. You tried to rob me. You thought I was an emotional idiot who would hand over half of my $600,000 patrimony because you were in love. $600,000? Beatrice repeated, incredulous. Surprise. I'm richer than you imagined. And now with the promotion, I'll earn $16,000 a month while you fight over money for diapers. David buried his face in his hands. I'm an idiot. A complete idiot. Finally, something we agree on. Beatrice tried one last card. Mari, you're my sister. We've always been family. And your niece or nephew. Beatrice, you tried to steal my husband, thinking you'd steal my fortune along with him. You calculated wrong. and now you'll have to live with the consequences. But family. Family doesn't betray family. Family doesn't humiliate family in public restaurants. Family doesn't seduce their sister's husband out of greed. I got up from the table, leaving two $50 bills. Your lawyers can contact mine, Helena Williams in Houston. Marina, wait. David stood up trying to follow me. Wait for what? Beatrice asked, tears beginning to form. Wait to see what it's like to be poor, what it's like to live counting pennies, what it's like not being able to pay for dinner at a $200 restaurant. I stopped at the door, looking back at both of them. Maybe now you'll understand why I work so hard to have what I have and why I protect what's mine. I left Terzo, hearing Beatrice start to cry and David cursing under his breath. The divorce was finalized in exactly 60 days. David didn't contest. Through my mother's inevitable comments, I followed from afar the reality they were facing. David continued working at the dealership, but his commissions had plummeted. He was earning about $3,500 a month. The $800 monthly child support was automatically deducted, leaving even less. Beatrice had moved back to our parents' house in San Antonio. Our parents, already retired, now supported 3 adults and a baby. According to my father, David got a job at a smaller dealership, earning half what he used to. They had moved to a trailer park, $500 monthly rent for a tiny space. They fight a lot about money, my father told me. David blames Beatrice for insisting on the divorce. Beatrice blames him for losing his job. Meanwhile, my life was completely transformed. As commercial director, I beat all first quarter targets. My effective salary reached $22,000 a month in some periods. I sold my old apartment for $500,000 and bought a new loft for $700,000 in cash. I renovated everything. German kitchen, complete automation, private gym. I spent $200,000 on renovation. At 30, I had a net worth of over $1 million. I traveled to Europe 3 times that year. Paris, Rome, Barcelona, always alone, always first class, always staying at the best hotels. During the holiday season, I received several messages from Beatrice asking for financial help. I blocked the number after the 10th message. On the 3rd anniversary of the betrayal, I received a message from David. Marina, I know you don't want to talk to me, but I need to tell you something. You were right about everything. I was an idiot and destroyed the best thing I had in life. I deleted the message without responding. Today at 32, I look back and see how that horrible night at Terzo was actually the best gift life could have given me. I'm now executive director with a salary of $300,000 annually. My net worth has exceeded $2 million. I have a healthy relationship with someone who values me and contributes equally. David continues living in the trailer park, fighting with Beatrice about money they don't have. They tried to rob me. They planned my humiliation. They calculated my emotional and financial destruction. The fact that they calculated wrong isn't my fault. My story isn't about revenge. It's about justice. It's about discovering that it's worth protecting what you build and that not everyone deserves access to your life. She thought I was a fool. I was the architect the whole time.